Founded in 1991 by patients, the FSHD Society is the largest grassroots network of FSHD patients, their families, and research activists. The FSHD Society offers a community of support, news, and information for the millions of people affected by FSHD worldwide. This is FSHD Society Radio. Welcome all to the FSHD Society Radio Show Hot Off the Press episode. This is where we kind of take a quick peek and look into what's going on right now that you need to know about with the FSHD Society and in our world of FSHD. Today, we have an amazing guest. She's been on the show before, and she's been around with the FSHD Society since, I believe, July of last year. And her name is Amanda Hill. She is the Director of Research and Patient Engagement with the FSHD Society. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi,
Thanks for
Tim.
being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You know, I am excited about this topic because I'm personally trying to get myself involved with it, and that is the subject of clinical trial, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is something that we've talked about before. There might even be some people eye rolling right now when they listen to that, like, oh, we're talking about this again. And it's exciting, but it can also be frustrating too, because it is a need that needs to be met. So maybe where we start though about it is kind of like the old way, or what clinical trials used to mean, you know, maybe 30 years ago, or maybe even 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So I know maybe that's kind of where you want to start, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just thinking back, I would like to maybe clarify a little bit the difference between the research that we at the FSHD Society have funded in the past and have talked about with you all a lot in the past versus now. So, since our founding over 30 years ago, the Society has funded a lot of basic research. And these were efforts that were really aimed at understanding what was happening in the body inside of someone with FSHD. And that research eventually led to our discovery of the genetic cause of DUX4. And over time, we understand more and more detail about how DUX4 causes FSHD, how it weakens and kills your muscle cells. And we really had to build that foundation before we could start figuring out ways to treat it. And so what's happened and what's really exploded over the last several years is that researchers have been able to start finding and creating ways to stop FSHD progression, to stop that DUX4, or to help your muscles grow back. Typically through a drug or a medicine. And to kind of give you an idea of how we've grown, and when I say we, I mean the entire field, the FSHD field of researchers, scientists, clinicians, and you, the patient community who have helped support this. Just 5 years ago, there were only a handful of companies working on medicines for FSHD. But today there are over 20 that we know of, and there could be more that we don't know of just yet. So to kind of back up, we've created this foundation of research that helped us understand FSHD. We've built on that, this ecosystem where now we're trying to find out ways to treat it. And now this next step is testing those medicines, those drugs in people. And that's really what we're talking about now with clinical trials. And I'll say one more thing about clinical trials then, that clinical trials are research studies that test those medicines in people. And this is how we determine if those medicines and those interventions are actually safe and if they're really working to stop FSHD. So this new era of clinical trials that we're talking about, that you've seen blazoned on the cover of the recent Advocate magazine, and that you'll hear us talk about, is really because for the first time ever, we actually have multiple clinical trials happening all at once. So in the past, we have had a clinical trial here or there. There was the YS clinical trial, the Acceleron clinical trial. Maybe some of you guys remember hearing about those in the past. But what's really different now is there are several of them happening all at once. And this is probably going to be the case for quite some time to come. And that's super exciting because that means we have a lot of different medicines that are in development of potential therapies that will actually hopefully soon be getting to the patient community. But this new era also poses new challenges. most notably in getting people involved in filling all of those clinical trials.
Yeah, that it seems always be the theme. I mean, each time we've talked about it, I think in the past it's been a buildup. Like you're talking, hey, we have multiple happening at one time. This is going to be something that's going to be going on for a while. And the biggest worry always seemed to be, in episodes we've talked about this prior, was that will we have enough people for all of that need? And are we in danger of not meeting that need?
Right now, I hope not. And I think not. Right now, we do have enough patients who are stepping up with that interest to fill the 3 clinical trials that we have right now. But looking forward, down the runway, a couple years from now, maybe there's 3 more that have happened. Maybe there's 5 more coming online after that. We're going to need thousands of patients to step up and volunteer and try to get involved in these clinical trials. So, what I would really impress upon our community is that, don't assume that other people are going to fill those clinical trials. I think each and every one of us should take a look and see how we can be involved. If you don't meet the criteria for a specific clinical trial, or you don't want to do clinical trials or just can't do them, you can still be involved in helping that research advance by doing the MOVE study. You can still be involved by helping us spread the word. You might have friends or family members with FSHD who maybe don't realize how important clinical trials are right now. So you can help us spread that word. But we want to make sure that everyone understands this. We're at a very critical juncture. Like, this is the juncture we've been waiting for. We are on the cusp of having new medicines and therapies, treatments, and even one day, hopefully, a cure. So now is really the time that we need our community to rise up into that and step into that challenge.
So how about those then that want to step into that challenge? Getting excited, you're talking about it. Okay, and how do I get involved? Get some more activated. So what's that going to look like for them, to get involved? First steps, maybe even the process a little bit. There's going to be questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I want to say, check out our website. You can go to fshdsociety.org/clinical trials, all one word, no spaces. We are in the process right now of building out a whole new suite of materials and information and a whole little web ecosystem that's going to help people understand what this process looks like and how to navigate it. But I would like to point out a few things, just some top level things that you can start to think about. So it's really important as you're looking at clinical trials to kind of weigh all of the factors. And how do I want to say this? There are some factors that you should be weighing in order to help you decide whether or not a particular study is right for you. So you want to think about, how long does the study last and how many study visits are there and where do you need to go for those study visits? If you're really close to your local university and it's easy for you to pop over there for an hour or a couple hours, that's great. But if you need to travel for, take a plane or a bus somewhere, you need to think about those sorts of factors. One other thing you want to think about is how much risk you personally are willing to accept. So some of the earlier phase studies, if something is a phase 1 or a phase 1/2, sometimes those are merged. A lot of times that's the first time a drug has ever been put into people. So there's more risk involved. We don't always know what the side effects might be. Versus if you go to a phase 3 study, something that's a little later in development, generally have a better idea of what the side effects of taking that drug might be and what the safety looks like. So, if you do a phase 1, maybe there's more risk, but you also have that chance of maybe getting on a really great drug that works fantastically really early on. So there's different risks and benefits to consider with that.
Now, how about those? Oh, sorry, because you're on that risk factor, and like it was brought to me when I was trying to work through the process, get myself signed up. They talked about placebo. I mean,
yes,
that is also a risk, right? Like, are you willing to just basically sacrifice your time and efforts just to get a placebo?
It's very, very true, and it's a really important thing to think about. So most of the studies that are in a phase 2 or a phase 3, some portion of the participants, sometimes up to half of them, are going to get a placebo. And that's something you're not going to know if you have a placebo or the drug. And that is a risk you absolutely have to consider. It is if it ends up being that you are on placebo and you're not seeing any improvement, but you're still going through all of that legwork for the clinical trial, that's a big commitment. And it's important that you see that commitment through, and you are greatly benefiting the larger community when you do that. But it's something for you to consider beforehand, before you take on that study and before you make that commitment. And the other thing I'll note with that, Tim, is a lot of times studies, when they do have a placebo group, they'll do something at the end of the study called an open label extension. And that is actually to, I think, kind of help balance that risk, if you will, of getting a placebo. So that the open label extension is a time period after the end of a study where everybody can take the drug if they choose to. It's an optional extension. And so that would mean if by chance you were on placebo, you would have the option to then take the drug at the end of the study. So that is something you would want to find out. It's different for every study. So you would want to ask your study team, is there an open label extension? Because if so, that might help ease the burden of potentially getting a placebo, knowing that in the end you could get the drug.
Right. That could definitely outweigh it for sure. And I've heard that. Yeah, that's a good point. Now, how about when they have to go through the process of getting, checked out or do that initial, consultation, more or less, right? Yeah. With the drug trial. I know that I'm trying to do one myself, and there was talk about making that first initial visit, kind of see if you qualify. So I guess talk about what do you think is going to be the requirements of that, and then even the risk of, let's say you don't qualify.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're talking about, you might hear the study team or others talk about as screening and pre-screening.
Yeah, there it is.
So this is, a pre-screening process is generally going to be maybe a series of phone calls or emails with a study coordinator, or potentially with someone at the drug company or a company that they've contracted with to help do this process. And that's generally, they'll give you an overview of the study. They'll ask you some questions about your health, do some initial screening to see if you might qualify. Yeah. And, you can do quite a bit of back and forth via phone or email to answer a lot of these kind of pre-screening questions. And then after that, if you're looking like you're a good potential candidate, then they'll want to bring you into the study site for an actual in-person appointment. And those appointments can be really long and tiring, in all honesty. There's usually a lot of paperwork that you need to fill out. You're going to go through a consent form. You're going to learn every detail about the study. You'll have lots of time to ask questions about it. You'll probably fill out some surveys and questionnaires about your health. And you're going to do a lot of assessments to measure your muscle strength and your FSHD progression. You'll probably have to do blood work. You might have to do an MRI. These are very, very involved processes to go through this screening to make sure that you're eligible. And it's not even until all of that is done before you or the study team will know for sure if you can actually participate in the study. They have to get the results of all of those tests back. So on that note, I would say just kind of mentally prepare for that. No, it'll be a long day. Wear comfy clothes, bring some food and water with you, and know that, you're not going to know whether or not you can go into the study until the end of that process. And if you don't get in, I would say to, take heed, because it's disappointing, but there's not lost hope. Yeah. So, I know firsthand how badly so many of you want a treatment and want to be involved in these studies. And not everyone will get into every single study, right? We're gonna have to space it out. But there's lots more coming up that you can get involved with.
Yeah, and then when it comes to, the multiple clinical trials we have going on right now, I think Fulcrum's phase 3, losmapimod is kind of one that's definitely high on the list in the forefront of people's minds. So do you know any of the latest news on any of those that are going on right now?
A little bit. So Fulcrum did announce recently that they are projecting that they will finish enrolling the study in the second half of this year. Okay. So things are looking good. They can kind of see the end of that enrollment period in sight. However, we do know there's a lot more patients who have contacted Fulcrum and who have contacted the study sites than they actually have room for in the study.
Mm.
So there are
Oh, wow.
absolutely going to be patients that maybe, like I think you mentioned, Tim, are waiting to get contacted back and come in for a
Yes.
screening visit, who may not get the opportunity to do that.
Okay.
But like I said, there's going to be other opportunities available to you. So don't be too dismayed just yet.
Yeah, just kind of find another. Okay, so that's a good spot. Yeah, for me personally, you're right. I was trying to get into the fulcrum. There's going to be some or a location close in Minnesota. I'm in Wisconsin. I'm willing to take that journey, no problem. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, and like a stall point of I'm supposed to now schedule a time supposedly to go do that on site or in person point. So I'm waiting for the contact back. It's been some time. It's a little discouraging, but I mean, it doesn't keep me up. But it does cross my mind. And then like, should I be reaching back out or
You should.
just have more patience? Right. So that's good advice. So that's on my list to do when like we're done here. Right. It kind of motivates me to not lose sight of that. But if this doesn't work out for me, or for others that are in my same situation, then how are we finding another one? Right. I mean, then should we just jump back in it and say, okay, so where else can I go?
Yeah, great question. So again, I'm going to say, go to our website. We're going to be keeping lots of up-to-date information there on that clinical trials section of the website.
Okay.
Currently, there are 2 more clinical trials that are coming online right now. So Avidity is a phase 1/2 study. So this is a bit earlier. This is going to be the first time this particular drug is in people. So it's a little bit of that higher risk, like I had mentioned before. But this is the first medicine we've had that is designed very specifically to target DUX4, which is really exciting. So Avidity has, I think, 1 site open right now, but there's going to be more sites opening up over the coming months. So keep checking back to our website and at clinicaltrials.gov to see where those sites are. And then similarly, we have another study from Roche. And this is a phase 2 study, which is testing, it's actually an antibody that may help muscles grow. And that one is also just getting started. I think they have 2 sites up and running, but again, there's going to be more sites coming up over the coming months. So keep checking back. And there are more coming down the pipeline that we know of as well. We just can't talk about them yet, but there's going to be additional clinical studies starting up soon.
And as you say that, Amanda, it is easy to find. If you go to FSHD Society, go over that research button, slide over all the way to your left there under clinical trials. It can't get more simple than that. And then they're all listed beautifully organized, easy to click, learn more buttons, and then go from there.
Yeah.
So it is easy. There's no excuses. I just did it now.
Great.
As it's talking. So if it's that easy, guys, okay, so that's not going to be an issue. Yeah.
Yep. And we're going to be adding a lot more content and information to that page in the coming weeks and months. So keep checking back because we're going to be building a lot more resources for the community to meet you where you are in your clinical trial journey or experience, answer questions that you have, and serve up more and more resources and information for you there.
Tell us a little bit about the, you want to hear from us a little bit from what I'm also hearing, right?
Yeah.
Do you have like a survey going or somewhere where if you want to get, input from people that are kind of working through these trials and
Absolutely.
and
So
experiences?
On that website that we were just talking about, that same page, you'll go and look for a banner and a button for a survey. It's not there at this moment, Tim, but it will be by the time everyone watches this.
Excellent.
But we want to hear from you about what your questions are, what your concerns are, what your fears are with regard to clinical trials. And we want to make sure that we are building the right resources for you to meet you wherever you're at in that journey. And we also want to hear from you if you have participated in a clinical trial in the past, or maybe you're doing one right now. And we want to hear from you about what that experience has been like. What advice do you have for others? What do you want to tell us about, that team? Maybe you had a great coordinator helping you through the whole process. If you just want to give them a shout out, maybe you've had some frustrations. We want to hear those things because the more that we hear from you and learn from your experiences, the more we can help others through the same things. So that survey will be up for the next couple weeks, and look for it on our website there. And we'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. This is great information. It's made me feel a little bit better than even in my personal situation. I know I'm not alone in that. keep up the fight, keep looking, keep researching, use the website to our advantage. The great people at FSHD Society that is helping us, just like Amanda. Is there anything that I'm missing here, Amanda? Did we cover all the bases?
I think that we did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Well, thanks a lot then for your time. Thanks for being here and spreading the word on this new era that we're walking into, an exciting time, if you ask me. And I think many would agree for the research and clinical trials, what's going on here in our fight against this terrible disease. So we appreciate your time, effort, and hard work to help us.
Thank you. Likewise, Tim. It was great to be here today.